Welcome to the Harjit Prayer Show with your host, Harjit Prayer.
I haven't seen you since Ignite.
Oh my God, how long ago was that? Just like
Uh,
2 weeks ago?
yeah, the closing storm party was 2 weeks ago. That was something else, huh?
Oh yeah. 2 weeks ago today, that's right. That was something, man. That was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing, so that's the third closing party I've been to at Universal, and my favorite thing was the Stranger Things haunted house.
Okay.
Did you go in that?
No, I hung around outside.
And the fun thing was just watching everybody behind me jump around when things popped out.
Oh, really?
So like the Demigorgons would pop out, people dressed as Demigorgons, and they would scream, and stuff like that. Obviously, yeah, it was a blast. And the other thing was riding that carousel with you and Patrick.
That was fun. That was really fun.
I showed my wife pictures of that because I'm actually kind of scared of carousels. They freak me out. So it was just, I'm like, hey, let's just be stupid. There's nobody on that ride. Let's do it.
That was fun.
So, yeah.
I think the whole evening was really nice. I mean, the food was great, and
We followed our own advice of leaving early.
yeah, we left early, so we avoided the lines and all that fun stuff. And yeah, that was awesome time. I mean, just Ignite in general this year was the best for me. I thought it was like I just enjoyed everything about it from the start to the end, and the whole community driven stuff, and the layout, just amazing. And in fact, I think the attitudes of people was even better this year.
Yeah.
Vendors and attendees and everybody, was just really nice.
Yeah, honestly, I don't recall anybody complaining, at least out like a lot.
Right.
Usually the various forums that we're in will be full of the food blah 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 and buses blah blah blah, but everybody was just like, okay.
Yeah.
And so it was cool just to be around of professionals.
Yes.
Talking shop for the week, and it was a lot of fun. All the sessions were excellent.
Yeah.
The vendors were top notch.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
We gotta give thanks to our viewers and supporters, because we got a lot of feedback on site, in person, by people that we didn't even know, who were watching our shows and said, "Hey, thank you very much for the information you've been providing, and as not only just for Ignite but for everything else." And so that gave us, you've heard it yourself too. So. Thank you guys for all the amazing feedback and support, and and you keep subscribing and spread the word,
Yeah, it was. I think it was really neat for me just to run into people that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, we appreciate the show." So for all those that did that, thank you. Hopefully, I wasn't too socially awkward when you all did that. My problem is, and this is even at home, when I'm fixed on trying to do something, and when there's like a distraction, or like a baby starts crying, I like completely don't even hear that until like, oh wait, there's something going on over there.
Yeah.
So, so thank you for being forgiving and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and hey, one of the coolest feedbacks we got was like, your video and audio quality suck.
Yeah.
And so, I did talk to a couple vendors.
We've been so proud of it too.
Right. It's like we're trying to pretend we're recording in the back villages of India.
Exactly.
Authentic Indian
on dial-up
experience, but we're turning it
dial-up connection.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
14.4.
Yeah. With our quick cams.
Yeah.
Remember those balls things?
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow, that's flashback. But we got some amazing feedback, and we heard you, and we talked to product teams and different video bloggers and whatnot. And they said, like, why aren't you using Teams to record your show? We're like, what? What are you talking about? And sure enough, there's a recording capability in Teams for meetings. And so you and I connected at 8:15 p.m. today,
Yep.
and we fired off our test recording at, I forgot, it says here, like around 8:40ish. It took like 15 minutes to set up. It's all done through PowerShell to enable the recording for the tenant and assigning the appropriate policy and stuff like that. So, and the documentation for this is really new. And so the wording in it makes it sound like it's not like a complete full-on product yet, which is maybe why we hadn't heard about it before.
Yeah.
But it's, if you know the PowerShell commands to enable it, then boom, it's there. It's recorded into Stream, so your tenant needs to have that license enabled.
Maybe we can share the document, I know, YouTube.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was 2 PowerShell commands. It took longer. 2 PowerShell commands. You need the Skype for Business PowerShell Online PowerShell module and the Visual C++ 2017 redistributable.
Okay.
It took longer to find the redistributable to actually run the commands and test it. It was like, that's the bulk of my time was trying to find that thing.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we're using Teams today instead of Skype. So
yeah, so we would love your feedback on what it looks like.
Yeah. So, but so I don't know who you heard from at Ignite about this, but I got to give thanks to our friend Mick Pletcher, who came up to me and he was really eager and excited, and because I do a podcast with him, and he's like, "Hey, I talked to the guys and with Teams and on the floor there, and they said we should be using Teams." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, yeah. Apparently you can do all your recordings and stuff. I'm like, get the hell out of here, So I think I told you, and then, I went up and talked to one of the guys, and he showed me, said, yeah, use it. And I guess it renders the whole video and audio much better than Skype does. I don't know what the terminology is, but yeah. So like you were saying that, offline about error checking and things like that, and
yeah.
Right.
So, like, one of the things people talked about, like, was how far the audio got out of sync.
Yeah.
When we recorded with Skype.
Lips moving and.
Yeah. So, hopefully, Teams is supposed to have some intelligence built into, like, getting all that stuff. Not intelligence, but you know what I mean. Some tech built in to compensate for the delays and stuff like that. It's recorded to the cloud, and all that. And so when I'm done, I'll share the file with Harjit, and he will do the editing and post it.
Yep.
And if we didn't want to edit it, it's just a couple clicks to actually publish it on Stream.
Right.
So, which is also something that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So, one thing I want to bring out is that we didn't learn this in any session. This was all learned just by talking to people in the community. And that is the number one.
The power
of Ignite and the value of Ignite is like you use that to connect and network with people to further
to find solutions to problems.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, right? I mean, we had some problems and someone thought about it and seeked out the information and gave it to us, and this happens all the time. And you go to sessions, you can get your full-blown, soup to nuts about certain technologies or products or things, and then but then you also get to problem solve like that, and that's cool. That's what Cool. So what else is new? So we're using Teams. So so I just found, so this is pretty cool. Check this out.
See the blur. The blur.
It blurs your background. There's a setting to blur your background.
Yep.
But something's interesting about, wait, you see the peace sign?
Yeah.
So I think it does something with the.
It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's tracking you as well.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, so they actually talked about this in one of the technical keynotes, is that they have found that when there's things going on in the background, it actually distracts the focus of the meeting.
Yeah.
So they brought in Blur. Actually, prior to Ignite, it was announced that it's going to happen, and they demoed it there. And so it does its job. I can't figure out why I can't do it in my client. That's kind of weird. Because obviously there's a lot more going on with me than you. But yeah, so I think it's crazy how it's just working. You don't have a green screen. It's just, it knows where you are.
Yeah.
And
I think my face is just all popped out, right? There's something.
Yep. So cool. That's pretty awesome.
Pretty neat. What else? Yeah. So, so I think, the reason you're saying, you can't find it, I was having some issues like that too, where you had set up this meeting and I couldn't find the meeting tab or section. And, I had to close Teams out, go to the email, go to the, open up the link to the meeting, and then it started doing its thing. And then next thing I know, I get all the features. So it might be one of those things.
Yeah, and I know that I have to reboot for updates to take effect, so it could also be that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I'm a little slow on this month, so.
Right.
But yeah. So,
anyway.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, one thing you do a lot of config manager stuff, and I have been testing out some of the software update capabilities available in Azure.
Oh.
And so what I did is I have 10 test machines running, virtually, not in Azure. And I spun up a new, basically like a log analytics workspace, and it also enabled all the automation that is another part of it. And what I was able to do is install, it's the SCOM agent, but it actually points to Azure, to that workplace. And then from there, you have the capability to push updates out to your on-premise machines and stuff. Yeah, and so you still need, those machines have to point to some kind of Windows update server to see that something is available. And so when a compliance check runs, it says, okay, if you haven't approved anything in Config Manager or WSDS, then it will say that it's compliant. But if you have like an ADR running, or if you have it pointing up to the Microsoft Cloud for updates, it will see like, oh, it's not in compliance. Here's the update that's needed. And then you just run a job to get it up to date. And then boom, it happens all in the cloud. So I'm like, wow, that's freaking amazing.
And these machines are joined to the local domain, or is it Azure domain?
It's joined to my test domain, and it's connected to my Azure tenants.
I see.
Okay. That's, that I use for testing and stuff like that. So, and that tenant doesn't have Azure Active Directory set back to the same directory that I'm using for testing. It's just Azure. I've created a workplace for log analytics and Azure automation, and that's what the monitoring agent is connected to. So,
okay.
Yep. Teams doesn't compensate for lighting yet.
Yeah, you notice that?
That's funny. So
every show, there's something or another happens, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. So I thought that was like that's
that is
awesome.
neat. I gotta check that out because I do a lot of patch management stuff.
Yeah. So I want to test it out for my job and see if that's something that can is viable. You have to pay for it, obviously, but if you don't want to have an on-premise config manager server, then this might be the way to go. Plus, you have the power of the cloud, as far as everything is kept up to date. All the features keep rolling into it. And, they have pledged their support. Microsoft has pledged their support behind continuing to have config manager on premise.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you should know what's in the cloud, right?
Right.
And that's all I was doing is just while watching football, messing around with this. I'm like, wow, this is actually a thing.
So this is with your E3 that you have?
Nope. That's my Office 365 tenants. Right. I have a different Azure tenant that I use for testing. Yeah, yep. So, yeah. And so, like, if you want to mess around with it, just use the free credits that you can get with, by signing up initially. If you've blown through those, then use a different email address for testing. Right. But I'm considering getting like a Visual Studio subscription that comes with recurring Azure credits, so I can do some more thorough
I do have credits with the MVP program too, so
Sweet.
yeah, so I could test that. Yeah. Now, is there if our viewers and stuff want to check this out, is there a doc, something like that they can point them to?
Dude, honestly, man, I just figured this out by going there and just reading the help files in Azure. Okay. And it was like it was a little weird. Some of the things you had to verify in the registry when they weren't working and stuff like that. But I mean, this was less than 3 hours. I had my test fleet of machines ready to update and got
nice. Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I gotta check it out.
Yep, definitely.
All right.
But, so that, I was like, okay, cool. I saw it at a session at Ignite.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, I want to play with this.
Oh. Do you know which session it was? Because that's what people do.
It's in my schedule, so I'll find it and we'll post it in the notes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we should do. We should point it to that session.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and I had some sessions, speaking of sessions, at Ignite. I want to thank everyone, who showed up, and I mean, there were theater sessions and they were really full.
Yep.
I did one with Morris Daly, and I did one by myself, and then I did a podcast with Mick Pletcher, and I did a creators meetup thing for like how to do podcasting recordings and things like that with Nick Bertoli.
Yep.
And you were there, yeah. And then I did a couple of idea swap sessions. Those, I had about maybe 10 or 12 people around the table and just talking about different things. And cool. So I got feedback. My feedback came back pretty good. People enjoyed the sessions and the content and stuff like that. So thank you very much.
Nice.
Yeah, and I guess the recordings are already online, so we'll have to link those as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. I haven't had a chance to actually check out any of the recordings, not let alone mine.
Got it.
It's been so busy since coming back with Chris trying to catch up and.
Yep, I get it. Yeah, dude, I'm like all sessioned out. So, but there's a few that I'm like, I need to watch this and make sure, and then also get connected on the tech community stuff with the forums associated with those sessions, just to see what's going on there as well. So.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good point. So. Yeah, maybe, in the future we can start talking about some of the sessions where we can pull out a couple of sessions and talk about those or something,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And what we liked or didn't like and, things like that. And
yeah.
Because there's like, over 700 sessions? Something like that, wasn't it? I mean,
it was a lot.
It was a lot. So there's no way anyone can really watch all of them. So if we can guide people to certain things and, that will interest them. So.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, just to change subject. Did you install the latest build of Windows?
You know what? Actually, I did.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you get hit by the bug?
No, actually, I didn't. I once the reports started coming in, I'm like, well, let me go check, and nope, everything was fine, and I even had the insider build, and but one thing I noticed though, the machine that I have the insider build on, it's messed up right now. Where I tried to do Windows updates and it just closes.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really weird, and there's some other little buggy things, and so I'm trying to. I don't know whether I just want to rebuild or try to see if I want to try to troubleshoot it.
Sure.
But the other thing that I discovered is that the disk cleanup tool, I don't know whether you heard about this, the disk cleanup tool that's now the new one. Well, in general, when I'm doing the disk cleanup, I just go and just check, right? Because I want to clean up all the old Windows installers and stuff like that and save space. Well, the new one has added a checkbox for your downloaded folder.
Oh, no way. So if you're not paying attention,
I went to check that on one of my machines.
That's
and
funny.
I see the reports online. Oh, by the way, disk cleanup, be careful if you check that. And I go check my downloads folder. They're gone.
Oh man,
I cleaned it up.
that's funny.
So be careful, guys. Be careful.
Yeah. So an easy way around that is redirect your downloads to go to OneDrive, right?
Yeah.
That way everything is just, I wouldn't consider that a backup, but you have another place to have some synced copies of your files and stuff like that. So if something really went blah, then you have that option.
Yeah. So this build was very interesting. I was kind of, I guess you can say frustrating. You can say, whatever. Obviously it was being tested and stuff in the Windows Insider builds, which were coming out really, really, really fast. And so I was very surprised to see this issue prop up, because I'm like, wait a minute, this is why they do the Insider builds, so they can, do the testings and vetting, and then before they put it out, and then I guess something slipped.
Here's the thing about Insider builds, though, is if there isn't enough feedback on a bug, I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah.
Then it's going to get ignored. So one article I read is that, like, here's an example of the media hyping up something that really isn't true.
Right.
Or it isn't completely, you're not presenting all the information. The article said that 0.1% of all insiders reported that there was an issue. And so, okay.
0.1
why?
is small. Yeah.
It's really small compared to how many insiders, I forgot what the number is. And so.
Like 10 million or something like that.
Exactly. And not all of us got the bug either. So when I started hearing about them, like, oh snap, like what's the deal with that? So anyway.
Yeah, but the volume license media was out, and when this came out, and they yanked it out, and then now they released it back to the insiders.
Yep.
I don't think the volume license is back yet, but it should be out pretty soon. So,
sure.
But in any case, I had already downloaded it and stuff like that, and been basically all my machines are updated to 1809. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm usually like one of the fast ones. I just go for it.
Gotcha. Yeah, my production laptop isn't up to date yet, but all my test machines, I let it update, didn't have any problems, and then they updated again today to see. I think there's another new insider build out there, so I guess we'll see. I mean, for any IT pro complaining about the problem, I'll say shame on you. You should know better. For the home users and stuff, man, I feel bad.
Home users is a different thing, right? I mean, they just don't understand this. They don't know, and they're dumping all their stuff either on the desktop or things like that, right? That's a common thing, and
I can't expect people at home to like do the things that we all do. Have a backup available. Oh, I'm going to test it on this machine first. Let me do a system state capture before all that kind of stuff. Recovery points. Nobody's going to know about that.
So this is why I have, so like my primary machine and stuff, at work and all that, it's, the regular builds. And then I've got one, specific, hardware. It's Insider, because if I don't use it all the time, then I'm not going to, so I've got that one. And then I've got VMs, in my test lab. I've got regular builds and I've got Insider builds too. So I'm doing all those kind of things, install it here and, update that one and, things like that. So like you said, we should know what we're doing, So.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I think overall it's fine. It's,
Yeah, I'm eager to get some of the new things that they've been talking about, like the new snipping tool. I'd like to check out that disk cleanup thing, see how it's
you should check that out.
That's funny, because I never pay attention to it either.
Think about that though, right? We just talked about we should know what we're doing. I obviously should have known what I was doing. It was like, old habits.
Right.
Because I'm like, that's exactly what, yeah, check the, whatever, I can't remember what all those things are that you check and prefetch and things like that. And oops. Oh, right. I went back and checked it. Oh, yeah, that is true. It is a new setting in there.
That's funny.
I guess, I was mentioning this to a colleague and stuff, and he says, well, when you think about it, the downloads folder is technically temporary, right? That's what it's designed for, is for you to download stuff so that you can either install it or,
right.
Things like that. You're not.
Yeah.
But we start using these things as long-term storage.
Yeah. And honestly, so I have my production computer that I use for doing the show and stuff like that, I got it used several years ago. It's a Lenovo T530. It's the same laptop that I had, the same model that I had when I was working up in New York before I had to turn everything in. I liked it so much, I'm like, I'm going to buy a used version of this. It was really cheap, small hard drive and stuff like that, and in order for me to keep the work I need to do, I need to always clean out downloads. I need to clear out my temporary folders, and this is something I want to keep. I'm going to throw it up into the cloud and stuff like that. At Ignite, and even before that, people were talking about, I got the latest iPhone, blah blah blah, and I got the latest. I'm going to be getting the newest Surface as soon as it's available. All this stuff. And with all this new technology, with bigger storage, more memory, and stuff like that, we get so lazy.
We do.
Because we're letting the system do the things that we used to have to manage manually.
Yeah.
I remember when I started doing this kind of stuff, we still had autoexec and config.sys. And in college, we had to figure out ways to load drivers in a way so that the network stuff would load. Because we only had 640K of memory in conventional RAM. And if things didn't load the right way, you would run out. And it was all weird because on Packard Bells, you would have more drivers that you would need than compacts and stuff like that. And so we had to really okay, what's going to work? Let's make sure we have a copy of all this stuff before we change something on the student's computer and stuff like that. Now we take it for granted.
Well, we do.
It's just I don't care what's running in memory because I have so much. And the same thing with hard disk files, right? All right, what am I going to save to floppy disk, or what am I going to save on my computer?
Now terabyte is nothing. It's
exactly. And so, I'm like, you know what? I think I would encourage IT pros to use older hardware so that you're forced to maintain good habits. And
exactly.
When I look at the requirements for Server 2019, this laptop that I have, that is now, it's close to 6 years old. I'm sorry, the model came out 6 years ago. I bought it off eBay a couple years after that for a couple $100, and it has more than I need for horsepower to run 2019.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, when I get a newer computer, I'll be like, oh man, wow, everything is fast and great. But at the same time, do I need it? No. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I told you I dropped my phone when I didn't have the case on, and I got a new one. And when I fired it up and got it all up to date, I was like, holy cow, I didn't realize how slow my old phone was.
Right.
Well,
the same thing happened with my iPhone. I got an 8 Plus now, right? But I was using the previous model. I think it was 6, iPhone 6 and stuff. And I skipped the 7. And when I got the 8 Plus, and I was like, oh my God, this is 10 times faster. Oh my God, the downloads are fast. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. But now as I'm using this 8, it's starting to feel sluggish, right?
Got it.
Yeah, right, because you're starting to put more things, and it's got more things that it needs to process or whatever,
Exactly.
But hey, another thing I learned at Ignite, other than Teams and other than other things, is things from you and Stuart about OneDrive, syncing your photos from your phone directly to OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, because we were sitting in Millis, and it was like, I think it was the last night or something like that, and we were sitting in Millis, and you guys were all like, oh, look at this photo, and it was like from 2013.
Right.
Oh, look at this. You remember this in New Orleans? But like, and I was like, how the heck are you guys pulling up this stuff? Like, are you storing all this in your phone? Like all these years?
That's what you said. Like, why do you keep? Oh no, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Wow, you like completely froze for a minute.
Yeah, you froze too. So
interesting. We'll have to see what that looks like on video. But yeah, you were like, why do you guys keep all that stuff on your phone? Like, don't you clean your stuff up? We're like, no, it's on my OneDrive.
Right.
As soon as I take a picture, boom, it's up in the cloud.
Yeah, so I came back and I looked into it and I'm like, okay, how do I set this up? And I enabled it, and because obviously it's going to be different, with Android and iOS, and yeah, so I'm using it now, and I can see how it works, and it sets it up by the year and month, and
it recognized a couple of years ago. It started recognizing faces.
Oh.
And so you can say, like, for one picture, okay, this is Harjit, and then it'll go through and tag everything that has your face on it.
Oh my God.
Stuff. Yeah, it is crazy, crazy stuff. And it was just like, okay, one day it just was there. So I can't tell you when it happened, but it was a while ago.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. That's
great.
So that's what I've been doing, man. It's
funny.
Awesome. And I'll check it every now and then. I'll just purposely take some pictures and I'll go check. Oh yeah, it's there. It's in OneDrive.
It's even like, yeah, I have no complaints about that whatsoever. It's pretty awesome.
The initial sync was crazy. I think it took me like 2 days for it to sync because I had so much stuff.
On your phone?
Yeah, I've got like thousands of photos, and then I got several videos, and it was trying to do all that, and so I guess then when it needs Wi-Fi, or I had set it for Wi-Fi only, so if I'm not around, and yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a cool thing. So people should check that out.
Yep. That's been definitely a very cool thing. Just like I delete stuff on my phone. I'm like, I know it's up in the cloud, so I don't have to. And it's never been a problem. It just works.
It just works, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and now we got something cool with Teams too. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully this recorded.
Hopefully it's recorded, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we got a good show.
Cool.
We should end it.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it's good seeing you again virtually. And once again, thanks everybody for, being good to us, for supporting us and giving us feedback and things like that, and encouragement and whatnot. So, hey, seriously, let us know what you guys want us to talk about and share, and whether it's technology related or whether it's personal related or whatever, we can talk.
Cool. Yep.
So, all right. So until next time, I'm Harjit, and you'll find me on Twitter as @Hoorge, Hoorge.
And you can find me on Twitter. My alias is the IT Jedi. I'm Prayer. You all know already. So.
All right. Cool. Cheers, guys.
Later.
Bork, bork, bork.